Oh, there he is. Let me promote James to panelist for you. There we go. He should be in.
Yeah, I see him.
All right. Working?
Perfect.
Brandon,
Yes,
what's up,
sir.
Daddy-o?
All right, coaches, it's all you. Take it away.
All right. First off, you guys, thank you for attending the Southern California Football Coaches Association virtual clinic this year. We're excited to have for our next speaker, Jason Bourne. He's the head football coach at Saugus High School, where he's starting his 19th season coming this fall. They just won the Foothill League title outright for the first time since 2008. So I've heard Jason speak several times at Glazier clinics and other clinics in the past, but we're excited to have him here. His topic for tonight is going to be building a winning culture that transcends football. Coach, thank you for your time, and it's all yours.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it. It's good to see you, man. First of all, I'd like to thank the Southern California Coaches Association. It's a fantastic organization and just been very supportive. It's especially the last couple of years. It's really grown tremendously, and really excited about the direction that it's moving in. I'd like to thank John Rice. He reached out to me and wanted to know if I'd be interested in speaking, and I said absolutely. I feel that the path that I've taken as a coach has been directly impacted by so many other coaches in my life and in my career that, if I can give back in any shape, way, or form, then I'm all for it. I'd also like to thank all the other presenting coaches. I mean, this lineup is unbelievable. And if the pandemic hasn't done anything, it has at least provided an opportunity for us to do environments like this, where we get unbelievable speakers from across the country to step forward and give up some of their time to share with the rest of the coaching brethren. And then finally, I'd like to thank all you guys that are here on a 4 o'clock on a Pacific Standard Time watching this, or anywhere else in the country, if you happen to be watching it. And we're all busy. We've got families and lives outside of our schools and our environment. So for you to take the time to watch this, whether you're watching it live right now or on replay, I truly am honored that you're taking the time to do that. So without further ado, let's jump in. This is how you can contact me. This is my email address. So when this presentation is done, if you'd like a copy of it, just hit me up, just shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to send it to you. If you have any questions that we'd like to talk about after this talk, please fire away. I'm all about building a network of guys that share similar thoughts, or maybe don't share similar thoughts, that are interested in collaborating. That's my Twitter handle, so you can feel free to hit me up on Twitter, DM me that way as well. My goal for this session is for you to walk away with something from this talk that you can immediately plug into your program tonight. Literally, I mean, that's my goal. That's my intention. Over the course of my years coaching, I started in 1990, and I'll briefly go over my pedigree, but I am who I am today because of the men who've poured themselves into me and have gotten me to where I am today, and still many who continue to do that. So my goal is to give you something that you can use today that will help you immediately and benefit your program. So again, just email me for this presentation. I'll be more than happy to send it to you. Very quickly, the biography slide. I'm not going to read through all of it, but this just kind of gives you a snapshot of where I've been. I started out at my alma mater coaching shortly after I got out of the Marine Corps. Well, I was still in the Marine Corps while I was coaching as a reservist. And then you can see all the different places that I've been at. And I've been at Saugus since 2003. So obviously need to update this slide. It's now going on 19 years, but 32 years of coaching football total. And you can see I spent 13 years as an assistant coach before I became a head coach. So, I know what it's like to walk in assistant coach's shoes, and I obviously know what it's like to be in a head coach's shoes. These are just some quick slides I'll throw up here for you guys for references that you guys can tap into, just great places to get ideas. And I know I haven't covered all of them, but these are just some of the ones that I use fairly regularly, from AFC Insider all the way down to Out of His Tackling. These are great companies that we've invested in. We've got a tremendous benefit out of using them. And if you have any questions about any of them, hit me up. I'll be more than happy to share with you. Especially Atavist Tackling. I mean, tremendous organization. Rex Norris, the CEO of football for Atavist Tackling, it's changed the way that we do things. On a micro and macro level in terms of defensive football, which I'd be more than happy to talk about at another time. Some other ideas, obviously the AFC convention, Glazier clinics, Nike Coach of the Year clinics, this clinic that you're participating in. One of the things I'd highly recommend is to find colleges and or high schools that do things similar to you in terms of X's, O's, as well as program building and philosophy and maintaining or exceeding. Tap into guys that you think would be willing to share information with you and talk to you. I mean, with the advent of Twitter and primarily Twitter, I've met some amazing coaches across the country, guys like Adam Gaylor, who are going to be presenting at some point this week in Oklahoma at Jenks, Ty Gower out of Texas, Oklahoma, Texas, just to name a couple, Jerry Gordon in New York. I mean, there's just a bunch of guys that I've tapped into. Steve E in, I want to say Maryland, I believe that's where it is. Anyways, the list is long. So find guys that do some stuff similar to you and, reach out to them. I mean, the worst they can say is no. Hire consultants, again, Rex Norris. For SoCal guys, Bill Williams has arguably been one of the most influential coaches in my career in terms of teaching the game of football step by step, part whole and the whole enchilada. His sons Kyle and Brett are the coaches down at Poway High School, tremendous coaches that I've tapped into as well. So just some ideas for you guys if you're looking to improve and get better. Podcasts that I listen to, USA Football Coordinators Podcast, Coach Vassar's Make Defense Great Again, the Jocko Podcast, Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL. I'm tapping in for a lot of leadership stuff, and you're going to see some stuff in here that's pretty familiar if you're familiar with Jocko. The Focus 3 podcast with Tim Kite, Brian Kite, Urban Meyer, although I don't know if Urban's doing it anymore because he's now the head coach of Jacksonville. But a lot of the ideas that I'm going to go through, if you're familiar with these particular Jocko podcast and Focus 3, then you're going to recognize some of the things that we do. These are just some books that that have been very helpful for me that I've tapped into. It's a short list on this page. There's tons more in my library, but that's my daughter calling from track practice. Sorry about that. So we'll, these are books that I've tapped into that have been really good for me, that I've extrapolated a bunch of different ideas. And, at the end of the day, nothing that I'm going to present to you today is original to me. I've begged, borrowed, and acquired from multiple sources. I've applied them to our program. I've picked out the nuggets that I thought would be really beneficial for us and have made it work for us. I don't take everything. I just take what works for us. And I think we all do that. We do that with X's and O's, and you certainly can do the same thing with building your program and sustaining it. These are some other books that we have our players read through. The ninth graders, they're all the John Gordon series, phenomenal resources. If you're ever looking for a book for your team to read, if not your team, then maybe your leaders, starting with the ninth grade all the way through the 12th grade. We've used these as resources and we'll continue to do that. Obviously, last summer was a little bit of a challenge for all of us. So we had to press pause on that as we tried to just keep our kids together and engaged as we all, dealt with the challenges of the pandemic. All right. So at the end of the day, what I'm going to talk about is vision, mission, and our core beliefs. So, what's your program about? Our vision is what we are doing. Our mission is why we're doing it. And our beliefs are how we are going to do it. As simple as I can put it, that is what our program is all about. Our vision, our mission, and our beliefs. And let me backtrack here for a quick second and tell you how I came to where I'm at today. I was hired here in 2003. The program had experienced some challenges throughout the years. And when I came in here, it was tough sledding. That first year, we were 2-8, got our butts kicked. We went 0 for 5 in our league, and it was a challenge. It was a challenge, but I knew that coming in here. And if you're taking over a program that has struggled, then you can probably expect to have a similar experience, unless you just get an influx of some special dudes that can play for you. We didn't quite have that, but we were building. The 2004 season, we did okay, and we ended up going to the playoffs that year. Then the 2005 season, again, we ended up going to the playoffs, and that year we played Mission Viejo, which at the time had Mark Sanchez as their starting quarterback, Chase Moline, who ended up going to UCLA, Conrad, I can't remember what his last, or maybe that was his last name. Anyways, they had a bunch of dudes, and we got smoked in the first round of the playoffs. And following that season, I was really questioning, why am I doing what I'm doing, and it was really a real soul searching moment for me. And I reached out to, at the time, Jim Kunow was the head football coach at Orange Lutheran High School. Now, I believe Jim has only recently retired. I know that the last place I believe he was coaching at was Rancho Christian. Before that, he was at, I believe, Canyon High School in Orange County, but I could be wrong. Might have been Valencia High School in Orange County. But anyways, I reached out to Jim Kunow when he was the head coach at Orange Lutheran, and I said, "Hey, Coach, I'd love to come talk to you." And I'd known, Jim, Coach Kunow from coaching against him in my earlier years as an assistant coach, and I knew what kind of a man he was and what kind of program he ran. So the short of it is, I went down and I visited him, and in the process of sitting down with him, in the first 10, 15 minutes, he asked me a very simple question. He just said, "What is your vision for Saugus football?" And, I have to be honest, I was kind of stumped, and quite honestly, I was embarrassed because I couldn't clearly articulate what my vision was. I think all I got out was, well, I want to win a league championship and I want to win a CIF championship. And that was the extent of it. And, it was that question and then that dialogue that started, I'd say probably about a 2-hour meeting where he just laid out everything that he does and why he does what he does. And through that conversation, he gave me some resources, a couple books and, CDs to listen to or watch. And I walked away from that meeting and it changed the course of my career all the way up till today. And it helped me to really clarify and have a vision of what it is that I was trying to do. And I knew what I was trying to do. I just couldn't articulate it. But through Coach Kunow's help, I was able to do that. And now, of course, since 2005 till today, 2021, we've refined it. We have modified some things and tweaked and adjusted things over the years. And we continue to do that. Every year we try to refine it and make it better and better and better. But it's that meeting with Coach Kunow that really changed and modified the way that I was doing things. Hey, babe, come on in. I'm in a video conference right now. Daughter, track practice. Oh, the joys of Zoom. All right. So let's start off with this. So the vision of Saugus football is simply this. We want our players to be the best version of themselves or the best version of you. Our mission is to build champions for life. And our core beliefs are relentless effort, competitive excellence, and unconquerable character. Okay. If you've ever read Above the Line by Urban Meyer, some of this should be somewhat familiar to you. If you're familiar with the teachings of Tim and Brian Kite, then this should be familiar to you. If not, well, then let's walk through this together. So the vision of Saugus football is to be the best version of you. And simply put, we want our players to really try to improve themselves each and every day, from the weight room to the classroom to in the community to anywhere they go. At the end of the day, we want them to be the best version of themselves as compared to themselves, not to anybody else. For us, that is the ultimate overriding factor of why we do what we do. We want these guys, we want these players that we've been blessed to coach to be the best version of themselves when they leave our program, whether they go on to be college football players or they go on to become firemen or police officers or community members, whatever it is that they decide to go do. We want them to be the best version of themselves, and we want our program to instill that belief system into them so that when they leave here, they come back in 3, 5, 10, 15 years from now and say, hey, I'm a much better person today because I participated in the Saugus football program. So the best version of you means better today than you were yesterday and better tomorrow than you were today. I mean, I love that expression. I love that saying. It pretty much sums up what it is that we're doing. We want them to be better today than they were yesterday and better tomorrow than they were today. We want to send young men out from our program that become extraordinary husbands, fathers, community members, citizens, employers, employees who have a deep concern for other people. That's what we want from our program. I know there's a lot of programs out there who do the same thing, who want the same thing. I think of Troy Thomas at Servite High School. I know him and I have had conversations in the past, and I know he's in alignment with this. I mean, we've talked about it at length at different times. I know that Dushan Ansich at Villa Park, same thing. I mean, I know he's trying to do that. And there's a lot of guys out there. Coach Henderson, who used to be at Grace Brethren, same thing. So there's a lot of other guys out there that they share the same vision. They want their players to be better men when they leave their program. Doesn't mean we don't want to win football games. Of course we do. But at the end of the day, our vision is we want the young men who've been in our program to be better human beings because they participated in our program. And if you have that as your end game, then everything else is gravy. If that's what your end game is, because I'll tell you this much, and I'll talk about this more, but if your end game is simply to win games, and that's all you care about, you're going to burn yourself out, and you're going to burn your players out. You're going to burn your parents out. You're going to burn your administration out. And, people are going to see right through that. That's a transactional coach. What can you do for me? Right. Well, we're transformational, right? Joe Ehrman, Season of Life. If you've ever read that book, highly recommend it. Again, it's about us pouring ourselves into our players to be better human beings. That's ultimately what we're trying to do here. And hey, if we can win some football games along the way, awesome, great. But that's not our end game. We want to compete at the highest level. We want to win each contest that we participate in. And, regardless of the event, we want to win. So I want to be clear on that. So we have a dual approach. Any of you guys that are part of the Positive Coaches Alliance, the Dual Goal Coach, there's a book out there, phenomenal read. And it promotes that idea that, look, you can train young men and raise up young men to be outstanding human beings and win at the same time. You can do both. Okay. But when you focus on just simply winning, all those things that I just expressed are going to happen at some point or another. Finally, we want the young men who leave us to lead a life that consistently and unselfishly strives to give the very best of themselves in everything they do in order to achieve success. Now, for us, success has a different definition. Okay. The world looks at success in a lot of different ways. And my goodness, our culture is in so many ways just got it wrong. It's about money. It's about cars and girls and houses and power and prestige and notoriety. And I mean, you just look at YouTube and look at how many people have become famous on YouTube because of what? Because they're, putting on crazy lipstick and I'm not faulting those people. Hey, God bless them. I mean, they were able to achieve the things that they achieved, because there's people out there willing to watch and buy into what they're marketing and what they're selling. But at the end of the day, that's not how we define success. We define success by our standards, meaning pursuing excellence. Excellence to us is consistently and unselfishly giving and developing our best every day. The key words, consistently and unselfishly. Okay, that to us is success. It is measured in comparison to our best selves, not against other people. It's a peace of mind knowing your purpose in life, growing to reach your potential, and sowing seeds that benefit others. Any of you guys out there who've read about or studied anything with John Wooden, this is straight out of his playbook. I mean, this is John Wooden to a T. Okay, it's all about you improving and being the best version of you. That's success. Because here's the cold hard reality. You are not going to win every single football game that you're in. You're not. And if you define success simply by wins and losses, number one, I think it's kind of shallow, but more importantly, you're going to find yourself pretty frustrated and angry and disappointed, as are your players and your parents and your teachers and your community. But if you redefine success by consistently and unselfishly giving your best, the winning and losing takes care of itself. It does. And again, that's John Wooden, 101. Lasting success is measured by the implementation and continual improvement of a character and educationally based process. So in other words, we're process oriented, right? So all the Sabanites out there, right? I mean, he constantly talks about the process. We're no different. We focus on the process. The end result takes care of itself if you're one-tracked and you're focused on the process. Okay. If you do that as compared to outcome oriented, everything else takes care of itself. And everybody knows that if you start to deviate off of the process and you start worrying about the outcome, that's when bad things happen. Okay. And when I say bad things, I'm talking about, not focusing on your job, not doing what you're supposed to do, getting distracted. So it's all about focusing on the process. Finally, success means that we can go to sleep at night knowing that we gave our best. There's a peace of mind knowing that, you know, if you go into a game, okay, or any event for that matter, and you give everything you got, you pour everything into it, and you come up short, there is a peace of mind that allows you to sleep a little bit easier at night, knowing that, you know what, man, I got after it. I did everything I could, and you know what, I just came up short. There's a peace of mind. And I'm not saying you're going to become comfortable and happy with losing. Of course not. We're all competitive. We want to win. But at the same time, you know, if you've done everything that you possibly can, you've prepared yourself, you've prepared your team, you've prepared your players, and you come up short because the other team just performed better, well, there's a peace of mind knowing that, you know what, I did everything I could. And if I was to go back and redo it, I wouldn't change a thing. Well, there's a peace of mind in that. You'll sleep better. I know I do. All right, our mission, okay? Our mission is to build champions for life. At the end of the day, we want to prepare young men who will consistently and unselfishly give their best in everything they do for the rest of their lives. You know, for us, a champion is someone who is consistently and unselfishly being the best that they can in everything they do. The best husband, the best father, the best employer, employee, citizen, community member. That to us is a champion. Now, if we can win a league title, if we can win a CIF championship, a state championship, awesome, great. But that's not our end game. You know, we want them to be champions for the rest of their life in anything they do. Our success is measured when those kids come back as men and they've got families and they're, you know, introducing me to their kids. They've been promoted at work. They've had success in the you know, business community or in the public service community. That's ultimately what we want. To us, that's a champion. All right, so what's our culture? So our culture is defined by beliefs, behaviors, and experiences. Again, this is straight out of Tim and Brian Kite, Focus 3, Above the Line by Urban Meyer. You know, none of this is original to us. We've tweaked and modified some of it to fit us, but it should be familiar to you if you've heard of it. If you have not, I highly recommend you tap into the Focus 3 podcast. You tap into, or you get Above the Line by Urban Meyer, and all this stuff will just be redundant for you, but it'll clarify some things as well. So for us, the simple definition of culture is this: it's what we believe, it's how we behave, and it's the experience that our behavior produces for one another. That's it. Okay. Our culture is measured by how we act, how we behave, what we do. Okay. It's not by what we say. You know, at one time, sure, I had signs everywhere in the weight room. You know, we don't really have a locker room, but, you know, in our weight room, in my classroom, in my office, and you know, those are great. And there's nothing wrong with having all those motivational signs out there. But the bottom line is this: if your kids can't tell you what those things mean and what's the importance of them, then all they are is decoration. They're just a glorified wallpaper. That's all it is. Until your kids buy into and understand what your beliefs are, because your beliefs drive your behavior, it's all for naught. All right, so we've defined 3 distinct areas where we expect behaviors to be demonstrated within our belief system. So, for example, we have 3 core beliefs, and I'll go through each one of them in detail, but we expect those behaviors to be demonstrated in 3 specific areas: on the football field or in the weight room. In other words, anytime we're together as a football team, whether we're in parts, groups, or whole, on the field or in the weight room, we expect a set of behaviors there. We expect a set of behaviors in the classroom or on campus, which, you know, for many of us is still a fluid thing now. I mean, we're in blended learning. I don't know where everybody else is out there, but we're still in that. And then in the community and at home, we have a set of expectations for what we want for them and how to behave in the community and the home. So let's jump into this. So the first belief that we have is relentless effort. Okay. And the soundbite for that is 4 to 6, A to B plus 2. So, you know, our kids can more or less recite. If I say, hey, what's our core beliefs? I'd say probably 50% of them could say it's relentless effort. Okay. But if I was to say, well, what's the phrase? They would say relentless effort. But if I just simply say, hey, what's our core beliefs? They'll all belt out 4 to 6, A to B plus 2. And then I'll walk them. Okay. What does that mean? Well, that means relentless effort, coach. Okay. Well, what does that look like on the football field? Well, we'll go as hard as we can for 4 to 6 seconds from point A to point B plus 2 steps. Okay. Plus 2 steps. What does that look like in the classroom? Well, we're going to be on time. We're going to complete all our assignments and we're going to be prepared for tests. All right, what does that look like at home and in the community? Well, I'm going to try to be try my best in all aspects of my life. I'm going to try my best. My parent tells me to do the dishes. I'm going to do my best to clean them and not break them. Tells me to vacuum. I'm going to make sure that I vacuum and, don't suck up pennies and paper clips that blow up my vacuum cleaner. If I ask them to run to the store and, whatever, get me something from the store, that they're actually going to get what I ask and not, 20 other things that I didn't need. The outcome that we hope to achieve by relentless effort is we're going to be mentally and physically prepared for any situation that we face. Okay, by giving us relentless effort, we're going to be mentally and physically prepared for any situation we face. And I'll give you a quick example of this. And I think if any of you guys out there coach on the defensive side of the ball, I think we all can agree that one of the premises of a great defense is getting guys to the football. It is the great equalizer. It's the great way to cover up mistakes that are made, is that if you can convince your 11 players on defense that when the ball is snapped, whether it is handed off to somebody or thrown to somebody, all 11 guys get to the ball, okay, good things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen when you get all 11 players to the ball. Relentless effort pays off. It makes us mentally and physically tougher and prepared for any situation that we're going to face. Okay, so that's our core belief number one, is relentless effort. Core belief number two is competitive greatness. And the soundbite, Bill Belichick, no one do your job, right? So again, I'll ask my kids, hey, what's our core beliefs? Well, 4 to 6, A to B plus 2, coach. Okay, what's our other one? Well, know and do your job. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that's how we achieve competitive excellence, is knowing and doing our job. So what does that look like on the football field or in the weight room? We're going to understand the fundamentals and responsibilities of our position. So again, if I'm a defensive lineman, it means I'm going to know the techniques that I need to do to be successful at my position. I'm going to know the calls. I'm going to know which direction I'm supposed to step in on a given call. If I'm a quarterback, it means I'm going to know my mechanics. I'm going to know my techniques. I'm going to know where do I step to hand the ball off? Where do I look when I'm throwing or going through my reading progression? Right? I mean, it means you know and do your job. Okay. What does that look like in the classroom? It means we're going to demonstrate an ability to learn and grow from our successes and failures. I'm a huge believer in growth mindset. Dr. Carol Dweck out of Stanford wrote a book on it titled Mindset. Phenomenal read, great teaching tool to get you as a coach. She has a specific chapter in there just on coaches about how you can get your players to stop thinking about the end result and to focus on the process. There's great chapters in there about being a parent, about how you speak to your kids. You try to get this idea across to the people that you're working with in your life, and yourself for that matter. Because as I read this book, I realized, wow, I've got a fixed mindset in a lot of areas of my life. I need to change that. I got to rewrite the script and go a different direction. It's this idea that it's okay to fail as long as you learn and grow from it. Now, repeated failure at a task over and over and over, well, no, that's not acceptable. That's not okay. Something's wrong in the teaching process if that is happening for you and your players or in any other aspect even of your own life. But it's this idea that we're going to do things, and sometimes we're going to come up short, but we've got to learn and grow from it and take the lessons that we learned from those failed experiences and apply them moving forward. One of the things that we do with our players after every game, okay, and this season, the spring season, obviously was a challenge because we couldn't really get together in person in a meeting room. So we would do a Zoom meeting after the game on the next day. And we would go through, we'd look at our offense and I'd say, okay, guys, and I got them all on the screen. All right, guys, what went well yesterday in the game? What went well last night in our game, offensively speaking? And boom, I just start calling, if kids aren't volunteering, I'll just start calling them out. Hey, what went well? And they just start, and I'm literally typing it into a Word doc so that they can all, and I'm sharing my screen so they can all see it. Okay, good, great. Okay, good. All right, now, what are some areas of improvement? What are some things that we got to get better at? Well, coach, we jumped offside twice. Hey, we threw an interception. Sometimes our offensive line wasn't finishing their blocks. I do that for defense, and I do that for special teams, and then I do it for the overall game. Again, I'm not going to hammer the things that we screwed up on or that we made mistakes on. I reframe it in, okay, what are some areas of growth? What are some things that we got to get better? Now, we're adults, right? We see right, you guys see right through what I'm doing. I'm pointing out to them. Well, I'm not the one pointing it out. They're the ones pointing it out. Sure, sometimes I've got to kind of lead them along a little bit, but for the most part, they're the ones that are pointing out their mistakes, not me. They're recognizing it. And that's half the battle. If you can get your players to identify where they made mistakes, where they messed up, you've got a chance. You got a chance to grow and get better. So that's what we do. In the community, we'll look for opportunities to serve and help others. You know, we want to find ways that we can benefit those around us. What's the outcome we hope to achieve? Consistently and unselfishly give our very best in all we do. That's what we're trying to do. And again, I know there's some redundancy here, but hopefully you get the idea of what we're trying to do, at least up until this point. We want these guys to be the best version of themselves, to be consistent and to be unselfish. Let's go on to the third one. Third core belief is unconquerable character. The soundbite is love people. Love people. At the end of the day, that's what we want our players to do. Again, when I ask them what's our core beliefs, A to B, 4 to 6 plus 2, know and do your job, and love people. There's our core beliefs, coach. Those are the little sound bites that they're going to remember. You know, all this stuff that you see on these slides, they're not going to remember all this. I mean, that's on us as the adults to reinforce it, to remind them, especially if you're an on-campus coach, to remind them of these things, you know, when they're on campus, especially if they're, you know, in your own classes. And I teach U.S. history here, so I've got a lot of the students in my class. So what does that look like on the football field? Well, we're going to communicate positively and use encouraging words with our teammates. You know, guys, and I'm not judging anybody, you know, but we try on our staff to really monitor our language. And it's not just the F-bombs and the profanity, but it's the coarse talk. It's the inappropriate talk. We really work hard to do that, to not speak in that manner. I'm not judging anybody who does. You know, I get it. You know, there's some programs out there that's just, you know, maybe that's part of your culture. That's how you guys talk. And, you know, I'm not judging you for it. We just don't do it. You know, I feel like there's better ways to communicate to your players. And, you know, quite honestly, if you're dropping F-bombs all the time on them, I think at some point it loses its meaning. And, you know, I don't want the kids talking like that on campus. I don't want them talking like that at home or in their classes. You know, sure, when they get together and they're hanging out at the beach and there's no adults around, yeah, well, you know, I'm not there, so what can I do? But while they're around us, we really work hard to make sure that they're not talking that way. But this goes one step further. You know, we don't want them ripping on each other. We don't want them bagging on each other. Is there some of that takes place that, you know, anytime you have a unit, you know, I'm a former jarhead, so I know we used to do it all the time, but it was done out of love. You know, we cared about each other. We loved each other. You know, we respected one another's, you know, similarities and differences. And so when we were doing that, you know, you know when, okay, there's a line that can't be crossed. And, you know, we work hard to make sure that our guys, to the best of their ability, understand that. And when they do cross the line, we got to teach them. Got to teach them, like, hey, man, you know, you pull them aside and say, remember when you were bagging on so-and-so about, you know, his height? Did you kind of notice how he kind of just like laughed it off and then just kind of, you know, didn't really say anything after that? Do you think that maybe that might bother him a little bit? You think that, you know, you bagging on the fact that he's short might, you know, not sit well with him? Oh, you know, coach, I get that. I understand that. But, you know, maybe you probably should have a conversation and let him know that, hey, man, you love him. And, yeah, you're busting his chops about his height. But, you know, maybe he'll confide in you that, hey, man, I get that. But, you know, it just really bothers me. Can you not do that? And then, you know, that's growth. We move on. We're going to demonstrate integrity when doing our schoolwork. Boy, that's a big one in the Zoom world, huh? All you guys that teach on campus, I mean, at our campus, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. Students that are at home, they're cheating. They got multiple tabs opened up. They're Googling. I mean, I'm giving a 20-question test today, and it's taking them an hour, and it's a multiple choice test. It can't take that long. So, I mean, I know that that's happening, and that's one of the challenges that we're all gonna see. You educators that are on campuses, we're all gonna have that challenge when these kids come back on campus and they realize, you mean I can't have 7 tabs opened up, Googling every answer for the test? That's gonna be fun. So we try to instill that in them to, hey, don't copy other people's work. You know, be proud of the work that you turn in. Do your own thing, because you're the one that's ultimately going to hurt yourself if you're not. And then finally, we're going to do the right thing at the right time. Steve Bogan used to be the head football coach at South Hills High School, was the head coach at Maranatha High School, and I'm drawing a blank right now. If coach is out there, I'm so sorry. I know you're coaching somewhere right now. I just can't remember where, because I saw you on a newspaper article. But I heard Steve Bogan say this at a clinic years ago when I was an assistant coach. And he simply said, be where you're supposed to be, do what you're, or be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's always stuck with me, so thanks, Coach Bogan. I appreciate that. And I still use it with our kids, just, they know what's right and wrong. Our kids are not stupid. They're not, they're not morally corrupt. They know the difference between right and wrong. It's our job to remind them of that. It's our job to steer them on that path. I mean, I'm constantly talking to our kids about, hey man, smoking weed and drinking alcohol. I get it. It permeates our culture. It permeates, everything in our life. But at the end of the day, is that going to make you a better football player? I'm sure many of you guys have seen the Kobe Bryant, visit when he came over to Alabama a few years ago, and he was talking with Coach Saban, and they were dialoguing. And one of the things that he said was, if the people that you hang out with aren't getting you closer to the goals that you want, then you probably should stop hanging out with them. And that really stuck with me. So that coupled with what Coach Bogan said, just really resonated with me. And it's something that we try to hammer with our kids. I'm not naive. I do know that we have kids that smoke weed. I know that we have kids that go out and party and drink and, probably do some other things. I know that. But as an educator, and more importantly, as a parent of three, I have a 20-year-old, I have a 17-year-old, and I have a 16-year-old, boy, girl. I know those challenges, man. I know I'm dealing with them I get it. I'm right there with you. So I know I get to see it as a coach and as a parent. All right. So what do we hope to achieve? Genuine love for one another and have a heart of integrity. That's ultimately what we're trying to achieve. All right. If we demonstrate the behaviors described, we're going to be successful in all we do. If we don't, then the following is going to take place. So if we see breakdowns in these behaviors that we're expecting of our players, the first thing we're going to do is myself and or a position coach is going to counsel that player to get that player to understand that, hey, what they're doing is not okay. We need to see a change. Then if the behavior continues or something else happens, then it's a coach and a parent. And then after that, it starts, if the behavior continues, now we're talking reduction of playing time, suspension from the team, or ultimately removal from the team. Those are last resorts. I mean, look, we're educators. We're in the business of educating young people. I'm talking about that 5-star athlete all the way down to that kid that's your 12th string punter. We have a duty and a responsibility to educate all the kids in our program. I had a great opportunity to work with Kevin Rooney, the former head coach at Notre Dame High School, for a spring season one year. And one of the things that impressed me with all the championships that they had won and all the success that he had, I got to watch him, and he modeled it. So I watched him do this. He was the outside linebacker coach, and he had a kid there that was, I don't know, probably at least a Division I athlete recruit. I watched him coach that kid exactly the same as a ninth grader who, might have been 110 pounds sopping wet, who could barely, run linear without tripping over himself. He coached both those kids identically. And for me, that was powerful. That showed me that, here's a guy with all the accolades and all the success that he's had, and yet he's coaching that first stringer, okay? He's coaching that, 8th stringer just as hard as he's coaching that first stringer. And, it's not easy. I would love to sit here and tell you that, oh, I'm great at this. I'm not. I struggle with this. I do at times. And it's one of the things that I continually have to grow and work on for myself. All right. Let's briefly, because I know I've got about 5 minutes left here, I believe. And I want to make sure I get through these and then open it up to any questions that might be out there. I'd love to claim all this. This ain't me. This is straight from Jocko Willink, Jocko Podcast. If you've heard of his books, Dichotomy of Leadership, as well as Extreme Ownership, and then Leadership Principle and Tactics. I've gotten all this stuff from him. So this is not me, but these are things that we try to do. 3 keys to success. Okay. The easy road is longer and harder. There's no easy paths. There's no life hacks. And that's something that we try to stress to our guys, that there's no shortcuts, man. There's no magic potion that you can drink that's going to make you the best player that you can be. You have to put the work in. Anyone has what it takes. It's just a choice. You got to choose to walk on that path. Discipline equals freedom is core principle 1 on that, or not core principle, but one of the beliefs that we teach. Motivation is a feeling. It's fickle and it comes and goes. You can't count on it because sometimes you don't feel like doing what it takes. Discipline is a choice. Get it done. It'll provide the freedom you want. Okay. I mean, it's all self-explanatory, right? You got to choose to do it. Okay. Motivation, it's just, for me, it's, like it says here, it's flimsy. It's flim-flam. You got to choose to do the things that you really don't want to do. You got to choose to do them every day. It's a choice. Okay. What do your feelings have to do with it? A friend of mine who's a occupational therapist, I was talking to him one time about some challenges we were having with some of our players, and he asked me that question. He's like, what do your players' feelings have to do with anything? And it was like, wow, that was just like a big epiphany that I had. I'm like, you know what? He's right. Your feelings have nothing to do with it. If there's a task or a job or a mission that's got to get done, it needs to get done. Your feelings are irrelevant. And I don't know if that sounds cold or harsh, but that's just what we believe. All right, stay humble. In life, you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do, things that you don't think you should or have to do. Put your ego in check and do it. Be confident in what you do, not cocky. Remain humble in all you do. I hope for goodness sakes, I'm not coming across as ego or arrogant or egotistical. I hope not, because the reality is this: I learn way more than I give out. I do. I mean, I am obsessed with learning. I love learning. I love learning new things. I'm a voracious reader. I read a ton of books on just a variety of topics. I mean, sure, it tends to gravitate towards history. That's what I teach and I enjoy, as well as, books on leadership and teams and stuff like that. But, be humble, man. Just understand that you don't know it all. You don't. And the sooner you can learn to put your ego in check, then it just becomes, you become a big open cup, just willing to take in as much information as possible. How do you gain humility and self-confidence? You don't know everything, so accept it. Having humility means you're going to learn from your mistakes. When you learn from your mistakes, you gain self-confidence. Don't be embarrassed by not knowing everything. Don't be that guy. Don't be King Topper. You know what I'm talking about, the guy that just always got something more to add to the conversation. Don't be that guy. Eat a piece of humble pie, and you might be the top. You might have a better one up than somebody else, but sometimes it's better just to be quiet and let other people have the floor. Be confident and not cocky. And then finally, take ownership of everything, right? Extreme ownership. The world's filled with people who make excuses. They blame others, and they don't take responsibility. Tim and Brian Kite refer to this as BCD, blame, complain, defend, right? Don't BCD. We talk to our players about it. You're in control of you, nothing else, right? So take extreme ownership of everything in your life, okay? Don't pass the buck. Don't blame others. Own everything, okay? And then this is the last slide of my presentation. These are just some other mantras and other beliefs that we talk about with our players and our coaches. It's about us. Nothing else matters. I firmly believe that the success that we were able to have this spring season and this challenging time is because we really focused on us. We had a lot of time to do it. I mean, from March 16th of 2020 until, this season just ended a week ago or 2 weeks ago. All we talked about was us. We didn't worry about anybody else. We didn't worry about whether the state was going to let us play. We didn't worry about CIF. We didn't worry about the league. We didn't worry about if we were going to have playoffs or not. We just focused on us. And I think our team benefited from it. E plus R equals O. Again, that's a Tim and Brian Kite formula. Urban Meyer's used it a lot. We can only control the R factor. The R factor is our response, right? Life is filled with events and outcomes. The only thing that we control out of that equation is our response to it. How do we develop our R factor? Think, feel, act. Think, feel, act. Press pause to gain clarity. Get your mind right, and then step up and act. All right, I'm done with my talk. I know I think I got about a minute left. So I'm not sure if there's any questions out there. I don't know if they're going to put them in the chat or if anybody's got anything or if they're going to unmute your mics. I don't know how that works.
Hey, thanks a lot, Coach. Really appreciated that. I guess if anybody's got a question for you, they can put it in the chat box. We weren't really given any direction on that part of it. So if you guys do have a question for Coach Bourne, feel free to type a message in the chat box for him.
And again, guys, this PowerPoint, whether you're watching it live right now or you're watching it on replay, just take down my email, shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to share this one with you, and anything else I got. I mean, none of this is original, man. It's all been begged, borrowed, and acquired from somebody else.
All right. Well, Coach, I want to thank you again from the Southern California Football Coaches Association for giving up your time and sharing with us. And I'm going to go ahead and jump out and get ready for my talk here coming up. We've got a moderator.
Thanks, man. Always good seeing you, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up or get together sometime this summer.
Hey, looking forward to it, Jason. Thank you.
All right, man.
All right, Coach. Thank you again. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.